Okay, this video is the first video about style that I want you to start thinking about. So, style is um, the way you come across on the page as a function of the choices you make, sentence by sentence by sentence. So, yes, first, your sentences need to be mechanically correct. So, you got to make sure that you're using complete thoughts. But beyond just having mechanically correct work, you need to work on the style, the expression that you're using throughout your work. And college writing is concise expression. Okay. So we're going to work on this idea first, the idea of concise expression. Unfortunately, there is a terrible unintended consequence of how high school writing works. For many of you in high school, the challenge was when you got a word count. So please, for instance, give me 800 words about a topic. The challenge was, oh my gosh, how am I going to come up with 800 words? And what you became focused on was making your papers long enough, an emphasis on making your writing longer, when in reality, as you advance as a writer, you should become more succinct, more efficient in your expression. And a function of that is being more concise, which is saying the most in terms of meaning with the least in terms of the number of your words. It doesn't always mean shorter, but it means being the most effective in terms of communicating meaning while doing that with as few words as possible. So here's an example of inconcise expression. This paper provides a review of the basic tenets of cancer biology study design, using as examples studies that illustrate the methodological challenges or that demonstrate successful solutions to the difficulties inherent in biological research. That is a writer trying to sound smart, using a ton of words that don't need to be used, who probably still works under the uninformed impression that longer sentences are better than shorter sentences, and is focused on having work that sounds smart. Now, the same sentence can be revised using some of the concision strategies I'm going to talk about to this sentence. This paper reviews. So instead of provides a review of the basic tenets of cancer biology study design, this paper reviews, so a single strong verb, cancer biology study design. This is superfluous, you don't need it. Using studies of the challenges and solutions. Using, as examples, redundant expression. When you use something, it is an example. Studies that illustrate the methodological challenges or that demonstrate successful solutions to the difficulties inherent in biological research. So we already said biological research because we said biology study design. Using studies of the challenges and solutions captures everything that was said here in an incredibly wordy, gobbledygook way. So concise means less is more. It's the opposite of being wordy or awkward. Let's look at some examples of awkward and wordy sentences and how to think about revising them. Avoid opening fillers. We often put a bunch of stuff at the beginning of our sentences that we don't really need. Look at this example. This is to inform you. So imagine this being an email. This is to inform you that your interview is scheduled for next week. Your interview is scheduled for next week. Your interview is next week. Right? Wordy, garbly, bunch of stuff that is filling up that opening before you get to the point. simplifying your sentences to make them more concise by avoiding these opening fillers, which I've noticed in young writers are conceptually spinning. They're thinking out their thoughts. And I'm going to say this over and over again in the class. Writing is not just putting down your speech on paper. It's not. It's not the transcription of speech. Writing is a drafted process by which we think of the best way to say something. Speaking is extemporaneous. It's off the top of our head. If you put the transcript of this video on paper and read it, I'd sound like an idiot because it's speech. It's not writing. Writing is going back and simplifying and making things more concise and making things more effective. A lot of times, where we are wordy, where we lack concision, is with our verbs. Look at this example. The politician talked about several of the merits of after-school programs in his speech. How can we replace everything in the red with single verbs? Talked about several of the merits of. That's a first draft expression. In later drafts, the writer would think, okay, what's the verb for that? What is the verb, the action word for talking about the merits of? When I'm talking about the merits of something, when I'm saying how good something is, what am I doing? I am praising. I am celebrating. Celebrated. I am praising. So the politician praised after school programs. The politician celebrated. The politician, what's another word that I could use? I've written these down in the past. Celebrated, lauded, explained, although explained doesn't have that connotation of celebrating. So what this is about diction. Diction is word choice, what words you're picking. And you want to make sure you have concise diction that's very specific. I will say in class, you want to be concise, precise, and consistent. That's what you're looking for in terms of your style. And thinking about your verbs can do that. Let's look at another example. Okay. Susie believed, but could not confirm, that Billy had feelings of affection for her. So the red text, one verb. The blue text, one verb. So Susie believed, but cannot confirm. What is it when we believe something, but cannot confirm? Let's say hoped. That Billy had feelings of affection for her. That Billy adored her. Ooh. I'm going to talk about connotation, which is the feelings of a word. It's not the dictionary definition, but it's rather how we react to a word because the way it's traditionally used, or the sense of the word outside of just its strict dictionary definition. So hoped and adored have really positive connotations. But what if we did this? Susie feared, right? That's believing but not confirming, feared that Billy desired her. Ooh, definitely a different connotation, right? So your diction, the words you choose, are about becoming more concise and more precise, because hoped and adored has a different meaning than feared and desired. And thinking about the verbs that you're using and how they can make you both more concise and precise is the first thing I want you to think about in terms of concise expression. Now, a lot of times, verbs are wordy and lack precision because you pick to be verbs. So the to be verbs, be, am, is, are, was, were, being, been, and there are others. Those are the verbs of being, and a lot of times young writers rely on those when they should be picking stronger verbs. Let me give you an example. Burying nuclear waste in Antarctica would be in violation of an international treaty. So the verb phrase is all of this, would be in violation of, right? Be, the to be verb. Violates. Burying nuclear waste in Antarctica violates. One strong verb. When Rosa Parks was resistant to, so was is the verb, giving up her seat on the bus. She became, verb, a civil rights hero. When Rosa Parks resisted giving up her seat on the bus, she inspired. Think about how those verbs have so much more meaning than a to be verb. We can't see the action in a to be verb. We can't feel it. And thinking about replacing to be verbs with stronger expressions makes you more concise and precise. Some more examples. A surge of power was responsible for the destruction of the coolant pumps. The coolant pumps were destroyed by a surge of power. Let's change that to a surge of power destroyed the coolant pumps. Think about that verb, right? Think about the images, right? A surge of power was responsible for the destruction of the coolant pumps. That is a boring sentence. This is a sentence in a movie. I can see it. Destroy. Working on vivid verbs rather than weak noun phrases is an aspect of becoming more concise and precise. So instead of we obtain estimates of, estimate. Has seen an expansion in expanded. Provides an emphasis, emphasizes. Provide a review, reviews. Make a decision, decide. These single, strong, vivid verbs are stylistically much preferred over weak noun phrases that are wordy. So work on identifying the verbs in your sentences, avoiding to be verbs when you can, and working on vivid verbs that help you be more concise and precise. Good luck writing.